What if I told you that you could take a prophecy from over 1,000 years ago and use it to pinpoint a very specific spot on a map today? Well, that's exactly what we're going to try and do. We're diving deep into a story of stranded sailors, a strange beast, and a mysterious man in chains, all to uncover a location that might just be hidden in plain sight.
It all boils down to this single question, doesn't it? It comes from a story that's been puzzling people for centuries. And this isn't some vague prediction. It's a story packed with very specific and honestly very strange clues that we're going to follow together step by step.
So where does this wild story even come from? It's from a famous Islamic tradition, a hadith, which is a recorded saying of the Prophet Muhammad. And in it, a group of sailors share an experience so bizarre, it sounds like something straight out of a myth. The craziest part? They told this story directly to the Prophet himself.
Okay, try to put yourself in their shoes for a second. You set sail from Arabia, everything's going fine, and then bam! A monster storm hits and throws you completely off course. For a whole month, you are lost, just drifting in the middle of the ocean. And then, finally, you see it, land, an island that isn't on any of your charts. This is where things start to get really weird.
The first thing they run into on this island is, well, it's something else. It's a creature covered in so much thick hair, they literally can't tell its front from its back. This beast, calling itself the Jassasa, then does the impossible. It speaks, and it gives them this one simple, chilling instruction. Go to that temple. There's a man inside who's eagerly waiting to hear from you.
So they head into the temple, and sure enough, there he is, a man bound up in heavy chains. He doesn't introduce himself, he just starts grilling them with these really specific questions. First up, the date palms of a place called Bazan. When the sailors say, yeah, they still have fruit, he gives this ominous reply that a time is coming when they won't.
Next, he asks them about the Lake of Tiberia. You might know it as the Sea of Galilee. And again, they tell him, yep, it's full of water. And just like before, he hits them with another dark prediction. Soon, all of its water is going to dry up.
All right, here's his third and final question, and it's the most important one. He asks about the unlettered prophet. Now, the sailors knew exactly who he meant. They confirmed that, yes, the Prophet Muhammad had appeared and that he had moved from the city of Mecca to Medina. And hearing that news, that's the trigger. The man in chains finally reveals who he is. He says, I am the Dajjal, a major figure in Islamic tradition, kind of like the Antichrist. And his message is simple and terrifying. His release is coming soon. He warns them he'll travel the whole world, but he'll be blocked from entering the holy cities of Mecca and Medina.
So when these sailors get back and tell their incredible story, the Prophet Muhammad actually confirms it, saying it lines up with his own teachings. And then he gives his followers the one, single, massive clue they'd need to find the island. This, right here, is where our hunt really begins. This is it. This is our key. The Prophet was so specific. He ruled out the Mediterranean Sea and the sea near Yemen. And then, standing right there in Medina, he pointed his hand and said it 3 times for emphasis, he is in the east. That single gesture, that one direction, that's our starting point.
So if we pull out a map and look east from Medina, we're staring right at the Arabian Sea. And because the prophecy specifically ruled out the Sea of Yemen, we can cross islands like Socotra right off the list. This really helps us narrow the search, leaving us with a few possible candidates, mostly in the waters near India and Pakistan.
But one theory out there suggests the shockingly simple way to narrow it down even more. It's a test, really. A geographical test, based on taking the prophet's gesture literally. So let's see what happens when we do just that. The logic couldn't be more straightforward. Forget trying to calculate old sailing routes or storm patterns. Just find Medina on a map and draw one single straight line directly to the east. The big question is, what does that line hit?
And what you find is pretty startling. That line, drawn due east, crosses over the Arabian Peninsula, over the Arabian Sea, and it makes landfall at one and only one specific location, a small, uninhabited island off the coast of Pakistan called Astola Island.
Okay, so that's a pretty compelling piece of geography, right? A straight line points directly to this one island. But is there anything actually on Astola Island that matches the rest of the sailors' wild story? Let's take a closer look.
Now remember, the sailors said that hairy beast, the Jassasa, sent them to a temple. Well, guess what you find on Astola Island? The ruins of a very old temple, estimated to be about 2,000 years old, and it was dedicated to the Hindu goddess Kali.
And this is where another fascinating parallel pops up. The sailors described the Jasasa as a frightening beast, just covered in thick hair. Well, the goddess Kali, who was worshipped in that very temple, is almost always shown as a fearsome, terrifying goddess with long, wild, untamed hair. So you have to wonder, is it possible the beast was just their symbolic way of describing the island's goddess? So we've got a geographical line and a pretty strong symbolic link. But the theory doesn't stop there. It takes one final, completely unexpected turn, connecting this ancient story to something recognized all over the modern world.
I know. It sounds like a ridiculous question, right? How could those two things possibly be related? But the connection is actually direct, it's well documented, and it has shaped global pop culture for more than 50 years. Yep, the Rolling Stones. That iconic tongue and lips logo is one of the most famous logos in history. And its designer has said on the record that his direct inspiration was a picture he saw of the Hindu goddess Kali, with her famous tongue sticking out. An image of the same fearsome goddess worshipped on that remote island became the global symbol for rock and roll.
So just take a second to think about that chain of events. A symbol tied to a remote island. An island that geographically lines up with an ancient prophecy has somehow broken free to become a global icon. A logo that has defined music, fashion, and culture on a massive scale for decades.
And that's where we land. A direct line on a map. A symbolic link between a mythical beast and an ancient goddess, and an echo of it all in one of the most famous logos on Earth. Is it just a string of unbelievable coincidences? Or is it maybe a piece of a puzzle, an ancient warning that's still resonating today in the most unexpected ways? What do you think?